On this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast, don't hire a hitman.
And Demon Dean tries to break the douche meter. Let's do this. Welcome to this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast. I'm Diana.
And I'm Liz.
And we're going to talk Season 10, Episode 2, Reichenbach.
Good. Yeah. I mean,
Sure.
that's how you say it.
It is? Okay, cool. I was hoping. I hoped so. Yeah. So it's been a little bit of a longer break, but we're back at it. Holidays are weird.
Well, technically, like, in terms of, like, podcast land, like, there was just, like, a week off because we dropped one, and then instead of, like, it's the holidays, people. Like, things happen, and sometimes people get viruses that make them vomit a lot and not be able to record, so.
Yes. All the things. So either way, we're back at it. It is 2025. Crazy. Weird. Sure.
That's yeah, we're in the future.
The future is now.
We're in the present past.
Present past. Whoa. Yeah. So, what do you want to share anything you've been up to? What's going on?
Like,
I don't know. I'm like,
I don't remember how to podcast.
Remember. What are we doing?
What's been going on with you? Also, not to like make a very disgusting cough in the microphone. So
I was trying not to sneeze. So I mean, I feel you.
Yeah, I know we're sexy bitches over here.
Yeah.
So I went to now it feels weird. Is I went to New Orleans, and I went there before New Year's, and went on some interesting things. I don't think we talked about this in the podcast, right? This is like time is not. It's just been weird.
Yeah.
So we've not talked about this, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So I went on a tour with Bloody Mary's tour, and she did, like, her house was on Ghost Adventures. Like, she's been on there like 3 or 4 times. And so I picked her tour because it said, there would be a van ride, which I'm like, not walking, check. And then also, a real investigation with paranormal equipment. I'm like, cool, that means actual ghost hunt. Check. These are things that I like. All right, so like this is the one that I picked. So I go to Bloody Mary's tour. It meets kind of on the edge of the quarter. And, it meets at her shop, which is also a museum. And she had said, something had happened there, but didn't say like what it was, and just, said basically told people like if you know kind of like the surprise ending of a tour, don't tell people. So first we go on the van tour, which goes through all the cemeteries, but you can't really go in cemeteries anymore because, well, people and governments. But a lot of the restrictions started happening to the cemeteries after Katrina, and then COVID happened. And then so like now like St. Louis #1, there's like one tour group who's allowed to go in there like one point a day. But anyways, but we got to drive around, and so we're driving around New Orleans, and I got to see all the Christmas lights that were up. And, so it was pretty much like I just got to ride around New Orleans and see things. It was great.
Yeah.
And then we went to her house to do some investigating there, not with equipment, just with feeling things. And so apparently, like on the show when they did it, the members, I forget which members it was, but ran out of her house and said that they wouldn't go back in until she was there. But in like the front of the front room of the house, there's this giant like tree that's going through there, and this really cool altar that's got like all these different offerings and things on there. It was a really cool room. Then we go into her bedroom, and she just turns off the lights and gets into bed. And so the tour group is like about like 10 people. There's a family with a mom and dad and a teenage son, and I think there was a teenage daughter, and then like two goth sisters who were dressed to the nines. They were so amazing. I love them. And like one other solo lady. So not a huge group of people, but she just gets into bed and like shuts off the lights and then just starts telling us the stories of all the ghosts and the things that she's seen in there. And this is the best fucking job ever. Like, yeah, y'all just come to my house. I'm just gonna lie down and take a nap, and y'all just stand there and I'll tell you stories about the creepy shit that like crawled through my mirrors.
Oh, fuck that shit.
Yeah, she told like about this like really weird like haint thing that like came through there. That one was kind of terrifying, but she had thermal night vision cameras set up throughout her house and the shop, so you could like go in there and like watch things like through the thermal cameras, which was just always just fun, and I could sit there and like watch that forever. So with that, and then we go back to the museum that's in the corner. And we go upstairs to do the investigation. She splits us into two groups, and I got sent off with the family. So I did not get to make friends with the goth girls, which was kind of sad. And instead I got, to hang out with this family. And yeah, there was a girl, because she was talking about how the dolls were freaking her out. And Bloody Mary gave her the reason, about, gave her the spooky reason. And then we ended up going into this room to do an investigation that was full of creepy dolls.
Oh, no.
And that I gave her the scientific explanation about why the dolls freaked her out. Because I was like, no, like, I had to Hermione my way into there. But yeah. Yeah, so we go through there and, like, we do the investigation, like, one part of the house. We go into the kitchen. In the kitchen, there's a refrigerator and there's a stove, and then there's a bathroom, and she was like, I kind of thinking them to two separate spaces. And, I kept asking for things to appear in the mirror, and the young, you would have really appreciated this, the young boy who was with our group, because I was like, yeah, and he was like, no, thank you. I would not like anything to appear in the mirror. And
yeah, that sounds about right. That's probably what I would have been saying too. I'd be like, nope.
Yeah, so we go through, and when we get done with that, we all go back and we all accumulate and sit in the living room. Turns out, and she tells us a story. This is the house where, like, one of the most famous, infamous, like, true crime New Orleans shits happened. Like, right after Katrina, there was this young guy named Zach who murdered his girlfriend Addie and dismembered her and cooked her in the stove and, like, wrote all over the walls, like, all this crazy shit. And then he took his own life. Sorry, trigger warning there, but too late. But he took his own life on, I think, on Caesars. And there was and then they went to the house, and when they went in the house, like, they found all this stuff, like, and so she was in the stove and she was in the fridge, and it's the same stove and the fridge that is in that house still.
Is that a biohazard?
Yes.
That's distressing.
Yeah, and so all the crazy shit is still on the walls. It's just been painted over.
Ugh.
And it was just, it was just like, and this is one of the craziest, like, most, like, I mean, I was like, everybody knows the story. No, not everybody, but I know the story. And when she started telling it, I was like, holy shit, like, that was here. But I am kind of glad she did it at the end. It was, like, the bias of the investigation, would have been so much more different had I known that story.
Right. We've been looking for it.
Yeah, and so, like, for conducting, a scientific paranormal investigation, like, it was kind of cool.
There's some air quotes there, guys. Air quotes there, but we won't talk about that.
Hey, I mean, technically, going by scientific method, right? You're observing, and just trying to do things as objective as possible.
Yeah.
Because there were, words and things that were coming over the Oculus, and that, we interpret, based on what you know of the story, right?
Sure.
Like, words, because we like dismemberment did come across there once.
Yikes.
Yeah. Yeah, there was like a little creepy closet that I did not crawl into because it
No?
was dirty. I was just like, no, that's too dirty.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so that was my my holiday festivities.
Nice. Mine were a little different, but not as exciting. So that's cool. I did very very normal stuff in the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex with like I say normal. I don't know if that's normal, but doing stuff. I did stuff with the family. We did all the Christmas things, and then we did New Year's. I did go see the Broadway Peter Pan, which was cute. And then yeah, I'm trying to think. I feel like I did other things, but I don't know. So there we go. I didn't see that much music. How about that? That's the weird thing. That's the weird part for you.
Yeah, these things are kind of in a little lull right now.
Oh, it'll change again soon. Don't worry. I'll get back out there.
How exciting for you.
No, but yeah. So and then we're all getting ready to buckle down here in Texas to freeze our booties off this week. So that'll be fun.
It's a winter event.
It is a winter event.
No.
I don't like the cold, but no, it's
cold is a pain in the ass. Cold makes me have to do things. Cold is stressful.
I don't like cold if I have to do anything. So,
and I have to do things. Like there is just stuff that I have to do multiple times a day. It's fucking weather.
I hear you.
Isn't that right, kitty? My cute little cat is sitting here looking at me going, it's cold. Come sit on the couch with me.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's talk about this episode.
So, Reichenbach, the episode title, according to Supernatural Wiki, may be a reference to Reichenbach Falls, which is the series of waterfalls in Switzerland where Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty meet their end in The Final Problem, which was the first time that Sherlock Holmes was killed. Like, he was supposed to be killed forever. And then they're like, oh, wait, you can still make money off of this. And he was like, okay, I'll bring him back. But, I mean, I'm assuming that's what Doyle did. I don't know. But, so, yeah, I went and read that story, and it was not that interesting. Because I was really trying really hard to figure out what lore to do for this episode. So, I went down that rabbit hole of Reichenbach. And also just trying to figure out why the hell this is named Reichenbach. And I still don't know.
I bet that's it. That makes, I mean, some kind of a Sherlock Holmes reference makes sense.
But I mean, what? Like, who's a Holmes? Who's like? It's not like somebody's like really their nemesis because like Cole is like Dean's nemesis, but is he? Yeah, so we'll get into that. Yeah. So this was also first aired October 14th, 2014. It was directed by Thomas J. Wright, and we last saw him this season direct. It was last season we saw him because this is season episode 2 of this season. So last season we saw him do episode 23, Do You Believe in Miracles, and episode 18's Metafiction. And it was written by Andrew Dabb, who last season we last saw do episode 22, Stairway to Heaven, and also 20's Bloodlines. So yeah, that happened.
All right.
Yep.
We open on June 21st, 2003. And we have a family photo and obviously some kind of family violence happening. We've got a mom, a man, a woman, and a mom, dad, and a kid, a little boy. And this little kid sees a bunch of blood and the carpet and finds his bloody dead dad on the floor, and he's crying on his bloody dead dad. And then Dean enters with a bloody knife.
Yeah, and then we figure out this is the flashback, and it's Cole's flashback to Dean killing his dad.
Yeah, he's telling Sam the story, and Sam's like, I'm sorry, but by the way, Dean's not really Dean right now. And Cole wants us to know that every night since he was 13 years old, he closes his eyes and he sees Dean and that blood and his daddy.
Cole, you need fucking therapy. Like, real bad. You shouldn't, like, I'm sorry that you had trauma, but you need to process that trauma. Like, what you're doing right now is not healthy.
Correct. But he's like, but Sam, you've got no reason to protect Dean. You got to help me. And Sam's like, nah, Dean must have had a reason. There are real monsters out there. So sorry. And Cole's like, oh, I know monsters.
It's not a metaphor, Cole.
So apparently Cole was so traumatized by his dad's murder at Dean's hands that he went special forces and did a lot of really dangerous tours in the military.
It says that he says he did 2 tours in Iraq, Special Ops, Darfur, and the Congo. And it's like, you should be in daily therapy. Like, you should literally be sitting, like, doing nothing else but going to, like, group.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. So
also, why did the military let you do all those things? This seems like at some point they should have probably said, hey, yo, like, you need to back off a little bit, buddy. But
it's a lot.
It's a lot.
So, and Sam's like, no, this type of monster I'm talking about is vampires and werewolves, like monsters. Yeah. And Cole calls him a psycho liar, and he's digging through Sam's go bag and is very unimpressed with the flask full of holy water. And gets out some very, very beat up gloves and a hammer. Ew.
And he just looks really happy to start torturing, and just not mentally well. It's just not.
Yeah, it is not good. So, holy fuck. Sorry. That's a personal problem. So yeah, so we get our intro there, and we go to Killdeer, North Dakota, where at a strip club where Cherry Pie is playing.
See, I don't know if this is a strip club. I think maybe it's a go-go
like a bikini club. Yeah, it's like a bikini club, like go bar.
Which is seems sadder in a way. Well, you know, but you gotta earn your money. Whatever, girls gotta eat. But yeah.
And Dean gets his hand slapped for touching.
He's just douche Dean, is like what I call him for most of this episode. Just douche Dean.
Super douche Dean. And he holds up a wad of cash and just throws money at her and tells her to pick it up. Like, oh, fuck you, brah. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't get a stiletto in his eye.
Well, security grabs him finally because she's like, nope. And but Dean decides that he's going to headbutt the security guard, and then as that's happening, we get a really good cut back and forth where we get to where Dean is beating up security and Cole is starting to torture Sam. These are cuts back and forth.
Yeah, but the Dean thing is just so uncomfortable. Like, why are you excessively beating this poor man who's just trying to protect this woman who's doing her job?
Yes, and so it's really like poor Sam is getting tortured by Cole, and Sam tells him to blow it out his ass, and right when fucking he lines up the hammer on Sam's kneecap, and I'm like distressed. And then his phone rings, thank God. So he has to step out and take a call from his family.
And he leaves Sam Winchester alone with some keys and a knife, which is ridiculous. Why would you do that?
So obviously Sam escapes. So we figure out later, like, this is so obvious, like there. I'm like, that's too obvious. And it was intentionally obvious, apparently. So anyways, Dean's gonna walk out of the strip club, and so he gets walked into by some younger guys, and they call him a grandpa. And I was like, ouch, but also fuck you, Dean. You are kind of a douche. You kind of deserve it in this one. But I'm kind of glad he doesn't kill them.
I'm glad he does not kill the teenagers or hurt them. That's great.
Yes.
And Crowley is waiting, and he wants to talk to Dean about his anger management issues.
Yeah. So we cut then to Cass, and he is um, on a dock where they have a community sink wash. I guess it's like for washing the fishes. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Washing his hands and trying to heal himself, but not doing a very good job at healing himself because he's out of grace. So Hannah has to do it. And he's like, no, Hannah, you should just go. It's fine. And she's like, no, I'm going to stay and help. And he's like, that's very human of you. Sam calls. And Sam finally is going to tell Cass, get to North Dakota because Crowley's there, Dean's there, and oh yeah, Dean is a demon.
Dun, dun, dun.
Uh-huh. So there we go. So they're going to meet there. And Sam is going to go steal this really cool pickup truck.
That fortunately works.
Fortunately. Yeah. So Cass and Hannah are driving and to go meet Sam, and she has decided she's going to inform Cass that she thinks the Winchesters are a bad influence on him, and which I think is kind of funny. But Castiel's like, no, they are the best men I've ever known, and they're my friends. And then they like to look at the stars, and then Cass is going to fall asleep driving because he's sleepy without his grace.
Yeah, so he falls asleep at the wheel and he wrecks.
Yes. Crowley and Dean are at a bar, and Dean is ordering shots and something fancy with the tiniest umbrella for Crowley.
Which I think sounds delightful.
Yeah, I want something fancy with umbrellas. And Crowley's like asking Dean how he's feeling because obviously the mark has changed him. And Dean's like, oh, I noticed. And we get black eye, demon eye. But
yeah, which it's not attractive. I don't think it's a good look for Mr. Ackles.
No. I think what bothers me is like it makes like a shutter sound effect. You know what I mean? Like when he does that blink, it get a little. They always have like a little sound to that blink. Like yeah, it's like a camera, like a little shutter. It's weird, and I love that they did it, but I hate it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So all right. Well, the bartender fucking delivers on these drinks, by the way. Crowley's drink has a lot of accoutrements, including a little pitchfork, which is adorbs.
I want the little pitchfork so bad.
Yes. And Crowley's like, yeah, Dean, I know you want to have fun, but you need to kill. And because death is your drug, you're an addict. Or something. So, yeah. And, oh, that's weird.
So Crowley has someone who has it coming, right? And so he has picked this lady, Mindy. And Mindy Morris is cheating on her husband. And she wanted a divorce and also half of her husband's shit. Mm-hmm. So this guy, Lester, has basically made a demon trade and decided he wanted to trade his soul to kill Mindy. And what the fuck? Like, cheating on someone does not make it okay for you to be killed. That is not like a thing that but Dean somehow goes along with this, right?
Well, and the part of the whole reason is Crowley's like, you got to fucking kill people because you're addicted to murder. So I'm going to find people for you to kill.
Right. And so this basic client that he's offering is Lester. And what Lester is doing is something that we're going to call being a green widow. And we're going to talk about another green widow who is pretty infamous for that. And that is the infamous case of, it is an infamous many times, Mary Ellen Samuels. And she is the green widow. And I'll tell you why she's called that in a minute. Okay, so this is lore, I guess. So on December 9th, 1988, Robert Samuels was found dead inside his home. His ex-wife, Mary Ellen, and stepdaughter, Nicole, were the ones who discovered the body and made the call. They said they were over there to go get the dog. So they have put a dog in the middle of the situation. That just says what kind of people they are. Yeah. So Bob was a cameraman, and he had worked in several well-known 80s films like Heaven Can Wait, Real Genius, The Color Purple, Short Circuit, the best movie of all time, Some Kind of Wonderful, Beverly Hills Cop 2, just on and on. So he was doing okay on that. But also, he and Mary Ellen co-owned a Subway shop. And when I first saw this, they were like they owned a Subway shop, and I was like, oh, what kind of sandwich shop did they own? And then I was like, oh wait, no, it was an actual Subway.
Huh.
So it was determined that Bob had been both hit in the head and shot through a pillow by a 16-gauge shotgun. And there was no evidence of a burglary. And at first, the police cleared Mary Ellen and Nicole, saying everything they did seems fine. But Mary Ellen got money from several insurance policies totaling around $240,000. She also sold the Subway for a profit around $70,000. She kept his car, received $6,000 in uncashed payroll checks at Roberts, and refinanced her family home after his death. And so she got another $160,000 out of that. Right. And so it's kind of suspicious, but they don't have anything on her. And then let's go by, and the investigation kind of goes cold until the cops get a tip. And that tip says to go look at Nicole's ex-boyfriend, a drug dealer named Jim Bernstein. However, when they go looking for him, they found him strangled to death. And so that's in July 1989. So probably about a year after the first thing. So Robert's dead. Now, the guy who they said killed him has now also been dead. So this is what they found out. That Jim had been dealing drugs with Dave Navarro, who told the police. Now, apparently, it is not that Dave Navarro, but I'm just going to keep saying his name. Apparently, though, Jim had confessed to Dave Navarro that he and Mike Silva had killed Robert and that Mary Ellen had paid him for it. He, on January 26, 1990, so about 6 months after Jim dies, they arrest Mary Ellen. And this is what they and the prosecutor sorted out. Okay. On Halloween in 1986, Mary Ellen filed for divorce, and it was cordial. And they were both like, we're going to work at the Subway we co-own and everything's going to be fine. But 2 years later, Robert went to his divorce attorney and was like, hey, we need to fix this because I want the Subway to myself. And I don't want to pay all this alimony because I can't afford it. Nicole begins telling her boyfriend, Jim Bernstein, the drug dealer, that her stepfather abused her and that he should be taken care of. Prosecutors also said that when Samuels was found dead, that this wasn't the first attempt that Mary Ellen had made on his life. She had tried to get him drunk and left him alone at a restaurant so it would be easier for a hitman to kill him. Another plot involved getting him drunk and driving him off a cliff. Once Mary Ellen even tried beating him with a broomstick, but that didn't work either. She complained bitterly to her friend that she had hired hitmen and tried to do him 3 or 4 times and spent almost $15,000 and nothing happened.
Jeez.
So after Nicole has told Jim these things, Jim has asked his employer if he knows of anybody who can help take care of Samuels. And he was provided with a number of this guy, Mike Silva. And look, I can tell you guys right now, there are no actual hitmen in the world. The only people on the other side of the hitman call are the federal agents who are waiting to take you to jail. Don't hire a hitman online. That's not a hitman. That is a policeman. Just don't do it. Every fucking story, of the things I was trying to pick out here for this, there are a lot of, I went to hire a hitman, but it was just the FBI.
Cole is not the one on the other end of that response.
He is not. And you really don't want to talk to Cole anyways. All right. So apparently he also, Jim was talking to his friend trying to get some weapons. But so he go ahead and him and this guy, Mike, apparently are the ones who do the deed. I don't know what ends up happening with Mike Silva. That one was kind of murky for me. But so Mary Ellen, though, starts getting afraid that Jim is going to talk, right? And so in the spring of 1989, she was introduced to her friend Ann Hambley's boyfriend, Paul Gall. Now, that's a fun name to say over and over. Paul Gall. So Mary Ellen told Paul she wanted Robert originally killed for the insurance money and because he abused Cole. And, she started telling him all this stuff and started telling him about killing Jim because now she was afraid he was going to talk. And apparently they discussed payment like 2 to 4 times. Then she told Paul that she was going to take a trip to Cancun and wanted Jim gone before she came back. She said she would pay him $5,000 and also forgive a loan to Anne, Paul's girlfriend. So Paul didn't want to do this by himself, so he solicited this guy, Daryl Ray Edwards, and he said he would do it for $5,000, which I'm just like, this math isn't adding up here. Like, I think you're kind of going into like the hole on this, right? Like, you're not really making a profit.
Right. That's a problem.
We're going to raise the price on that. And it just doesn't feel like being a hitman's like a good business model. I don't know. So Mary Ellen gets Jim to move in with Anne Hambley and Paul Gall. And he was like, he was afraid that the police were closing in on him. So they get them to like get closer together, right? And then in June, Paul and Edwards meet at a bar and they start day drinking. They decide that they're going to tell Jim that they're going to go rob some drug dealers in Fraser Park. So that's what they tell him, and he eventually agrees to go with them. So they all get in the car. They are in Mary Ellen's car. Mary Ellen's not in the car, but they are Paul, this guy Edwards, and then Jim, the original guy who murdered her husband the first time. He's in the car, right? And so they're driving around and they end up like driving. They thought they were in a dirt road, but it was a driveway. And then all these dogs start like taking off with the car. And so all these dogs are chasing them down the road and they freak out. And so they have to turn around. So they go into another road and like 5 or 10 minutes later, Daryl Edwards yells, "Now!" And Paul slams on the brakes and he puts the car in park and Daryl starts to choke Jim from behind. Then Paul hits Jim on the head because Jim wouldn't stop screaming. But Jim got the car door open and then ran out. Then Paul and Daryl are now chasing him around the car until Daryl tackles him to the ground. Finally, Paul holds his leg down while Daryl chokes him to death. When Jim was asking him why, Daryl said it was because he talked too much. And then after 3 to 5 minutes of strangulation, Jim finally died. That is something else people remember. Strangulation takes a long time. It's not quick like in the movie theaters. It's a really long, horrible thing. So they put his body in the back seat. They throw his belt and his pager out of the car and eventually throw his body off an embankment. They go back to the house. They tell Anne, who calls Mary Ellen, who is in Cancun, tell her the code they agreed to, which was, "I have spoken to your sister." And that meant that Mary Ellen could come back. So when they serve the arrest warrant, they find all this stuff, including a Polaroid of Mary Ellen naked on a bed in Cancun, covered in piles of money.
What? I mean, that just sounds fun.
It's a pretty epic fucking photograph.
Can we do this? How do we make this happen?
Well, you don't want to do it this way.
No.
So the prosecutors are making the case that Mary Ellen killed her husband to live a lavish lifestyle. Evidence of the defendant's callousness and indifference included defendants posing for a photograph recovered only in money, commencing a relationship with Dean Groover, forging Robert Samuel's mother's signature, and refinancing the home she inherited after Samuel's death, and providing fraudulent information on the related loan documents. Evidence of defendants' extravagant purchases included a new Porsche automobile, costly custom clothing from a store called Trashy Lingerie, scuba equipment, yes, Trashy Lingerie, the most amazing store in LA, which still exists, scuba equipment for Dean Groover, a 30-inch television and car phone, and a fur coat. Additional evidence of defendants' lavish lifestyle included a trip to Mexico and the purchase of property in Cancun, Mexico, financial investment in Groover Productions, paying for the cost of others to travel to Las Vegas, San Francisco, and Cancun, being free with her money, throwing a birthday party for herself at a country club, using limousines for transportation, and expending most, if not all, of the money she received from Robert Samuel's death within 1 year. They also said that the defendant attended bars and clubs, defendant received pornographic letters, defendant used drugs, defendant allowed her daughter to drop out of high school, defendant allowed her daughter to leave the family home at age 16, defendant took her minor daughter and her minor friends to bars, defendant's daughter and her daughter's friends used drugs supplied by defendant while at defendant's house.
What?
defendant influenced her daughter and her daughter's friends to dress inappropriately.
Oh, God.
Defendant allowed her daughter to take a trip to Mexico with James Bernstein, the one who killed the first husband. Defendant's daughter allowed herself to be photographed in a suggestive position. Defendant's daughter refused to return or pay for jewelry she had hawked that had been bought for her by James Bernstein with David Navarro's credit card.
What?
Goddamn. And suggested that a false insurance claim be made. Defendant's daughter was engaged to Jim Bernstein while engaged to another man. So those are all the things the prosecutor says about her, including during the sentencing thing. Mary Ellen receives the death penalty. It was, however, commuted to life in prison due to her counsel's failing to limit and exclude the bad character evidence admitted during the sentencing phase. For, basically saying the jury sentenced her to death for being a shitty mother, not for the crime of what she actually did, right? Like, so they're like,
I mean, yeah, you got to be actually sentenced for the crime, not just for being a terrible person.
She probably shouldn't have been doing a bunch of blow with her daughter. However, should that influence her decision in her death penalty case? So she is currently incarcerated at the Central California Women's Facility at Chowhila. Paul Gall and Daryl Edwards both pleaded guilty to killing Bernstein and were sentenced to 15 years to life. That was the Green Widow, Mary Ellen Samuels.
Wow. That's something. I don't know if Lester is this organized.
I do not think so. And, I have a lot of additional thoughts on but kind of like, fuck you, Lester. And in the end, I think
fuck you, Lester. No, fully fuck you, Lester. I'm with you. Yeah. Like, because at what we find out, we've got Dean's watching Mindy and then realizes,
we skipped. There was one little part with Cass and Hannah.
Skip a scene. Yes, they're getting the car fixed, and some nice woman that drives a tow truck takes them to her house. The nicest
tow truck driver ever. She's pulled their car that he has wrecked off the side of the road. She has towed them to their house, just letting them in there with her underage minor child.
Yes, and her 3 being surprised. Ew. Yeah.
I looked at recipes for it. It's all gross.
I understand 3 bean, but what's the surprise? Is what Hannah says.
You just don't want to know.
So Dean is watching Mindy that he has been hired, I guess, ordered by Crowley to kill for Lester. And Lester decides to, like a dumbass, he wants to pull up and watch this happen. And so Dean rightfully goes and tells him, this is dumb. You're not supposed to be here because then you don't have a fucking alibi. But anyways. Dean's kind of like he does not have any sympathy or like goodwill towards Lester, which is interesting because Dean's supposed to be a demon. But Dean is deeply unimpressed and pieces together and asks and guesses correctly that Lester cheated first. So.
Yep. And Mindy is just way out of Lester's league to fucking begin with. Like, how did you pull that? Okay.
Well, Lester tries to go on the men are different than women and aren't built for monogamy speech, and then Dean punches him in the face.
Yes, which all of us were thank you, because we all wanted to punch him in the face for that.
Yeah. Yes. And then Lester decides to call Dean a punk-ass demon and then tell him that he works for him, big freak. So Dean's, you want to watch this, and stabs him. So Dean kills Lester instead of Mindy.
Cool. Nobody cries.
Nobody's sad. But we all know Crowley's going to be
all would have been like, I would have been really upset. Like, I'm not upset that he killed Lester at all. No, I would have been very upset if he had killed Mindy.
Yeah, not cool. So Sam has made his way, though, to the strip club where Dean got in his fight and is talking to the injured security guard. And they are both in shoulder slings.
Yeah.
And
That's, they're like, hey, yeah,
you get to you too. Yeah. And also Sam is using a Lemmy Kilmeister as his FBI name right now, which is fun.
He sure is.
It's cute. Yeah. And he's driving this sick 1969, I believe, Ford Ranger pickup truck. And Cole is following him. Bum, bum, bum. So back at the tow truck driver's house, because what the fuck, why not? We've got cartoons are on and a little girl sitting next to Castiel wanting to ask about his dreams because she dreamt about snot and rockets and is eating dry cereal, and Cass doesn't have dreams. But our truck driver is eavesdropping and tells Hannah that she has a great guy in Cass.
How the fuck do you know that? Like, you literally picked him up off the side of the road and he slept on your couch all night, lady. Like, what the fuck do you know?
Well, because Hannah's sitting there looking at him fondly from the door frame probably doesn't help anything. But yeah, you know. Yeah, no. Yeah, it's a little presumptuous of our fucking tow truck driver. I do love our next scene where a demon has worked so hard on this presentation, and he is working very hard to look at how to improve their demon conversion rates. And he's got numbers and graphs, and he is telling Crowley how they're going to do this. And Crowley gives no fucks. He's annoyed.
No, he does not.
No fucks. And the other demon there gets a phone call and is to let them know that Sam is close. But Dean shows up and is like, by the way, he's dead and I feel amazing. And Crowley is pissed because Dean has killed the client, which also Kill the Client was the name of a Dallas hardcore band for a while. And I was like, wait a minute. And Dean's like, yeah, dead douche. And Crowley's like, that's not the fucking deal I made. But Dean is completely unbothered, does not care that this does not math for Crowley. And he's just going to walk away. And so Dean and Crowley tries to stop him and gets promptly decked by Dean.
Yeah, he does.
In front of his other underlings. That's not cool.
Yeah, and he's right in front of his minions. It's not good. And so basically, though, they break up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. So Crowley calls him out. He's like, look, you don't know what you want. You don't know what the fuck you are. If you're a demon, then Mindy should be dead. And otherwise, what are you? Human? You're a block. You got your black eyes and you're working with me. So pick a bloody side. And Dean's like, or what? Because that's what he would do. And he's like, I'm not your bestie and I'm not taking orders. And so that's when it is over. Crowley says, it's not me, it's you. Boom. So we have, and Hannah and Castiel are getting back on the road. And Sam is at a motel where Crowley has found him. Because Crowley is like, nope, I want to give Dean to you. He's bad for my business. He's your problem.
Yeah, and Sam just looks terrible, though.
Sam does not look good. I mean, he did get tortured for a while by Cole.
He did. I mean, he looks like he got the shit beat out of him.
And he's sad.
Yeah.
And stressed. So Castiel wakes up in his car alone at the playground where they have the portal in the sandbox. And so he is very concerned because Hannah is gone. She has gone upstairs. And she is at the Heaven prison going to Metatron, who's now also in a straitjacket.
Mm-hmm.
And she wants to know if there's any of Castiel's grace left anywhere. And he's like, yeah, you can pay for it. You just have to let me out. He's like, I've decided, screw Earth. I'm going to go off to another planet or galaxy. It's fine. You don't have to worry about me. Just let me go. And then Castiel will be back at full power. No biggie. And then he like gets real gross talking about how Hannah wants to be dominated by someone big and strong.
Yeah, he just does some real crappy shit, and she just knocks his head against the bars like we all
It's
want
really
to.
good. It was good. Good job, Hannah. And Castiel is like, no, don't make a fucking deal with this guy. He is a liar always, and all his deals are terrible and they end in blood and tears. And this is my fucking life, so back the fuck off. But so she does, and she's going to walk away. And Metatron's going to keep talking to Castiel, though, aka Astiel, as he likes to call him.
It's still a good burn.
It is a good burn, as dorky as it is. And he's like, Metatron's like, there is some of your grace left. And Castiel's like, nope, don't want it. I enjoy, thinking about you locked up here till the end of time. And that's all that matters. And Metatron's like, don't worry, I'm going to get out. It may take for a millennial, but here's the sneak preview. When I'm out, everybody dies.
Yeah, so threatening.
Yeah.
And he also says dead man walking like twice, and I just don't like that. Like, oh man, it wasn't funny. It wasn't good the first time. He didn't work the second time, Metatron.
I know. It's just goading him. It's just annoying. So Dean is at a piano drinking and thinking about what Crowley said about picking a side.
And he's just cutting himself open with ODT.
Yeah, it's real weird. Cutting his hand and watching it heal over and over again. And Sam is like, finally shows up. And so Dean sends a bartender away. Why does the bartender listen to Dean? What power does Dean have to do to like just poo-poo, go outside? It's very weird. And Dean tries to make small talk about Sam's shoulder sling, but doesn't really care. And it's about how Sam just can't let Dean go, and Crowley sold Dean out, but Dean has the blade. And Sam's like, yeah, and we also know how to cure demons. Remember that? And Dean's like, yeah, it's a little Latin and a lot of blood. But if I wanted that, if I wanted that, I wouldn't have bailed. So Sam's like, well, that was Crowley, right? I mean, we can fix this, no big. But Dean's like, meh, I don't know, because I'm just trying not to rip your throat out right now. So I don't know about walking out the door with you. I don't think that's gonna work. I don't know.
Eat you.
Yeah, you don't know really what I've done. So yeah, it's fine. And Sam's trying to be sweet. He's like, you're my brother. I'll take you home. It's fine. And Dean just mocks him and takes a shot. It's really weird.
And just makes my stomach hurt. He's just drinking so much straight tequila. It's just painful. It's just, ow.
So
heartburn.
Sam, it's a lot of heartburn. I don't know if he took his omeprazole this morning.
I don't know, man.
But Sam pulls out his fancy sigilled handcuffs. A smoke bomb gets thrown through the window, or gas. It's not smoke. It's a tear gas bomb thing. And so Sam is choking and runs out the back door as Cole approaches and knocks Sam the fuck out.
God damn it, Cole.
Poor Sam.
Poor Sam's head, man. Like, the amount of concussions on that poor boy's noggin.
No kidding. So Dean comes out to see what the fuck's going on. And basically now we get confirmation that Sam escaped because Cole let him escape to lead him to Dean. Which is
took advantage of him escaping to follow him.
Yeah, because it was almost too easy. But anyways, Dean's like, I don't know who the fuck you are. I don't know why you're after me. I don't know, man. And so Cole's like, oh, don't you remember in New York in 2003, you gutted and murdered my dad? And Dean's like, still doesn't ring a bell. I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't know what to tell you. And Cole's like, you let me live, and I've spent half my life training for this moment. I know you're good, but I'm better. Anyways, it's a lot. But Cole attacks him, and it goes so badly. This fight is kind of depressing, especially when you think about this. And Dean alludes to this afterwards, how like fucking sad this is, because Dean has like full demon strength now and Mark of Cain demon strength. he is kind of a bad motherfucker.
Yeah, there's no way. Like, Cole stands, like, no fucking chance. Like,
Zero chance.
whatsoever.
Zero.
Yeah, and so,
he keeps
like,
trying, and then
Dean just easily beats the shit out of him.
And he even gets to go, like, Dean gets to go, like, Princess Bride mock him about my name is Inigo Montoya, you killed my father, prepare to die. Like, but what is interesting is when Cole does manage to cut Dean's face and sees it heal, and then he's like, what are you?
Yeah. So. And so then he flicks his eyes at him. He's like, you like me now?
And he's got ODT, and he's about to kill Cole, or he could have killed Cole, but he doesn't. And then Sam starts flinging holy water and has handcuffs out and puts him in a car, and Crowley's there, and Sam's giving ODT to Crowley while a handcuffed Dean is in the backseat of the car. And Crowley assures, so this is the payment, the finder's fee that Crowley wanted for handing over Dean, was that he wants ODT back because he doesn't want to get fucking killed.
And, frankly, I think this may make sense right now. Like, based on, what they know at this moment, like, maybe it's time, like, you take a little break from your weird little donkey jaw.
Yeah. Reasonable. It's gross.
It's nasty. You were just rubbing that into your hand? Like, it was just really, like, with the little molars and shit? Like you didn't floss. Do you floss ODT? Like, does, like, things get stuck in between the teeth?
Gross. I didn't think of that. I just feel like it looks like it smells bad.
It just clearly smells terrible.
Yeah. And Sam tries to
bone. You just
Sam
can't.
just try. Yeah, it's got to soak in like a bleach for like an extended period of time, right? Or something.
It's just like a walking biohazard. Anyway,
too porous for this.
Yeah.
So Sam's trying to threaten Crowley about next time, and Crowley's just like, yeah, no, I no, it's fine, whatever. And so and we have a very, very bloody Cole in a very dark library, rubbing blood over all of these books that is in a very poorly lit library. What is happening?
This poor librarian. It's just like her Wednesday afternoon. And she's just trying to get through, like, her shit. She's just like, I just gotta get my day done. And then here comes motherfucking Cole. Just, like, covered in blood.
Pawing at all these books.
And she's just like, the fuck?
Bloody man rubbing his bloody hands all over books in a poorly lit library. She's got eye strain.
Yeah. And she's just like, she starts twitching, just being like, God damn, another one. Oh my God. Like, and how many times a day does, like, someone come in there asking for books on demons?
Right.
And then, like, he gets the sad idea of, like, what happens when you actually look for books on demons in a library.
Oh my gosh. So ridiculous. But yeah, and then we've got Crowley's at the bar being sad, looking at ODT and at cute pictures of him and Dean at the bar together.
And there's some great photographs.
There are. And Hey Lonely Girl is playing on the radio while two demons watch him be weird and sad. And Sam is driving away with Dean. And he is pissed because baby is dirty. And not just like, oh, she got out, it rained on her. It's got like Demon Dean like left trash and gunk inside the car. Yeah. What the fuck is this? Rude. He said it's just a car. Sir, yes. Excuse me.
That's how you know how far gone he is.
Ugh. So, and Sam's like, oh, but you took mercy on Cole. That was, very human of you, blah, blah, blah. And Dean's like, are you kidding me? That wasn't fucking mercy. I whipped him like a dog, and now he has to live with the fact that he couldn't fucking kill me. And what I'm going to do to you ain't going to be mercy either.
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah, his ego is so huge right now, and he's just being super creepy.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. Well, I have a couple cast notes that I will share with you all tonight.
Casting couch. It's the casting couch. Were they on that show that time with that guy? La 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 la.
So our first is our favorite Lester, was played by David Nichol. He's been in episodes of Call of the Wild, Stargate SG-1, Fringe, Once Upon a Time, and Kung Fu, and some other things. He was a medical examiner in Chupacabra versus the Alamo. He was a science teacher in Tomorrowland, and Anatoly in Arrow, which is a reoccurring character. He's been like over 36 episodes of Arrow. Our bouncer who got in the fight got beat up by Dean, was played by Brad Kelly. He actually does a lot of stunt work. That's what most of his credits are for the movie Godzilla, Watchmen, I, Robot, and War for Planet of the Apes are some of his big credits as far as doing stunt work. Our tattooed man, who happened to be the one that Mindy was having her tryst with, was played by Robert Salvador, who was Detective Kavanaugh in I, Zombie, over 24 episodes. So, there we go.
Very cool.
Yep. So, you said you call this Douche Dean most of this episode?
Yeah. I mean, I think we're at like peak douche. You know, it's pretty. He's tipped the douche meter like pretty far.
The douche meter. The douche meter might be breaking.
I think he may have broken the douche meter.
I mean, it's pretty epically douchey. Yeah, I mean that's the biggest thing. I think that the dynamic between Hannah and Castiel is interesting, but it's gonna get old unless something kind of happens.
Well, it's kind of hard when they're characters that are supposed to be junkless, but they're not. And then, and then it's confusing of how much humanity they really got because they fell, but now the doors to heaven are back open. So now everything is fine.
Yeah, I guess.
And that hasn't really been explained. Just what's happened now.
Yeah. No, I can see that. It's kind of because I guess, and Castiel especially has had so much history being a human, but being very human, not terribly long ago. Because he, and then she's definitely newer to it, but I don't know. So that dynamic's just kind of an odd one. I'm not sure where they're going with that, but I will say I kind of like this Sam. I really would love to know what's going on. You like
when he gets the crap beat up?
Well, no, I like that he's like, no, I hate that part. I like that he's like focused and committed. He's not wishy-washy.
He has a goal.
Because sometimes he's a little wishy-washy. And then I am like, I really want to understand what's going on with Cole.
Cole needs therapy.
Well, I mean, I knew that part. That part's a given. I'm talking about the rest, like in general, like as a viewer, like, did Dean just fucking kill his dad? But he wouldn't do that back in 2003, just go kill a dude. So there had to be a reason. So was dad a monster, or is somebody pretending to be Dean and fucking with Cole's head? Like, I want to know.
Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities. Dean's had a life, man. Like, he's done a lot of shit.
I'm not doing well waiting on that storyline.
Yeah.
That's my annoyance right now. I also feel kind of bad for Cole.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, he just really needs therapy.
He needs therapy. He needs to learn that vengeance is, vengeance and revenge, or they're not good. They're not going to fill up that hole in your heart, Cole. They're just not. The only way you're going to do that is to work through your trauma. And that's going to take some process and some work and some growth.
This is true. Yes. Yeah.
Or you can just, drink a bunch.
I mean, he might do better with that than anything else he's doing right now. But that's okay. So
yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I'm sad that Crowley and Dean have broken up. I do enjoy their relationship, but also I think it is time that Daddy took ODT away.
Yeah, I think you're probably correct on that.
I mean, we're only in episode 2, so who knows?
Oh, I know. We got plenty to go this season. That's for sure. So I'm interested to see where it's going to go. I'm hopeful that we don't have a full season of Douchey Demon Dean.
Yeah, I think that would probably, if that was a line that they chose to do, I think that could get old pretty fast.
I would agree. But yeah.
Yep. All right. I think on that note, cheers, Jerk.
Cheers, bitch.
Devil's Trap Podcast is a Don't Be a Dick production. Meow.
Devil's Trap Podcast is part of the Ship It Studios Podcast Network. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at Devil's Trap Podcast, Twitter at Devil's Trap Pod, or you can email us at devilstrap@devilstrappodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave reviews, and share with all your friends. We're at all your favorite podcast outlets and at devilstrappodcast.com. I'm Babe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.